Okay, guys, so I'm really excited to do this. This is not something that I have made up or come up with on my own. This is a summit funding thing. I actually accidentally got this presentation because somebody 3 years ago sent it to me on accident. I said, I like that. And then so I asked some people about it and implemented maybe a few touches that are mine, but this is not me. So this is something that you can recreate yourself and you can actually have a lot of fun doing it. So I think what's fun about having a process and a structure is that inside the structure and inside the process, you can put your personality in it. So I'm not telling you, hey, do this exactly like this, but I am saying that this is the backbone has been a huge piece on. I mean, I show this to every single real estate agent. So when I do a two-step close, I ask them about what do you want in a lender, what do you not want, what's one reason we wouldn't work together, and then I say, hey, I want you to come in the office so we can go over these things, make sure it's a good fit, and I want to show you the buyer's consultation so you can see how your clients get treated. Does that sound like a bad idea? No, it doesn't. So then they come in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm actually going to have Jonas act as the borrower just to make it a little bit more interactive because I don't want to talk for 20 minutes or 25 minutes. I know some people don't believe that. You think I want to talk all the time. I don't. So I'm going to share my screen now. And there may be a couple points where I just pause just for a second and say, hey, I said it like this because of this. I'm going to try to keep that to a minimum just because I think it kind of kills the flow a little bit. And then if anybody's having any questions at the end, so I'm going to try to keep it succinct. I would probably go a little bit slower than this just because, we understand the concepts that we're talking about, but I'm just going to walk through the whole presentation, okay? Jonas, you tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready, sir.
All right, so Jonas comes in the office. You might have one of these puppies, which I don't know if people will be able to see, but you might have filling out something that says an all about you form. Play a little bit of a doctor nurse model, so they fill that out. Your loan partner might drop that off at your desk. You look it over. You have a CCI form with you because the appointment's been set up. You got an awesome loan partner that gets the information in. So Jonas walks in the office. Let's say John Smith is his buyer or is his buyer's agent. So we'll just kind of go with that as the person. So if somebody that I work with watches this, they don't get offended. I didn't use their name. So Jonas walks in. He sits down. Jonas, I need to see your face. I need you to start talking so I can see you. Otherwise, it's going to be weird.
I'm right here.
Oh, I only see Rebecca. There we go. Okay, now I see Jonas. Well, hey Jonas, I seriously appreciate you coming in. John is seriously one of the best agents I work with. 75 agents I work pretty closely with, and I would be lying to you if I didn't say he was the best negotiator that I know. You're like, man, what the heck does that mean for you? Well, my goal is for you to win based on value. I don't want you to have to be one of these people that are offering $20,000 over the purchase price. So I'm really excited to work with you. Just as we get to start this off, how do you feel?
Nervous.
Okay. Tell me more. Why do you feel nervous?
It's my first time home buyer. I have no idea what I'm doing and don't want to make any mistakes.
That seems pretty fair to me. So here's the goal. We're going to go over the process. So you're familiar with that. We're going to go over the monthly payment that makes sense for you and your family. We're going to go over the cash to close that makes sense for you because you worked really hard to get this money. And I'm going to answer any questions. Does that sound fair?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Well, hey, I get to know all your personal information. So I'm going to tell you some goofy stuff about me. All right.
Perfect.
So who is Chris Kloc? Wait for it. All right. First thing, I'm short and ginger. I know you can tell. It's very apparent. Right. I didn't ask for this life. And actually, my parents didn't give me this life either. But here we are. I am competitive. And you're like, what the heck does it have to do with me? I'll do some unique things to make your offer stand out. So I'll just give you an example here. So let's say John Smith does an awesome job with you buying here. And then 5 years down the road, you're looking to move into that next house. And because he did such an awesome job, you're going to use him again. And he has 3 offers that are on the table. One of them is Wells Fargo. One of them is Bank of America or Rocket Mortgage, and one of them is me. If there's 3 offers on the table and I'm the person that calls the listing agent and says, hey, by the way, Mary Jo, we know each other. We've done a deal together. I've already sat down with Jonas. We went over the process, the monthly payment, the cash to close. I answered questions. They had it written down exactly what their payment was, cash to close. I verified the assets, the income, and they're already underwritten. We have a 99.83% approval rating in underwriting. How do you think that that seller would respond to that? Do you think that they're going to maybe consider your offer?
Yeah.
Yeah, 20% of deals fall out because of financing right now. So my goal is for you to be competitive based on value and not just based on price. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Cool. All right. I'm a husband. There's my smoking hot wife. All right. I'm a dad. I'm repopulating the world with a bunch of ginger babies. I got some Old Testament funky Bible names. This is Hezekiah. He goes by Kaya. This is Kidron. And then this is Asher. Everybody has a lovable terrorist. Here's my lovable terrorist. His name is Kidron. And then finally, my wife gave me some updated pictures. So this is from this week. Here's my current terrorists. They are a bundle of chaos, which means you might call me at 8 o'clock at night and I might not be able to pick up. It's usually because I'm getting beaten up. You can see my phone over here. I promise you, if I see you call, I will pick it up. If I can't, I will call you right back. Okay? And then finally, cowabunga. All right? So here's where we get started. This is the mortgage loan process. We call this the mortgage Candyland map. So what we're doing right here is we're getting pre-approved, right? That's not a lot of fun. It's a whole bunch of paperwork. It stinks. Next step is we're finding a home. Super fun. Everybody likes to do that. Last step, getting into a home. Super fun. See the rest of this here? It stinks. It's not fun. I'm just going to explain to you a real quick buy, okay? Contract, you negotiate back and forth. Earnest money, you go to the bank and you get a deposit that's applied towards all the cash you need to close. So let's say you need 10K to close. You end up putting down 2K. You now need 8. Application, you sign a bunch of documents with me that are specific to the property. I'm assuming the close. Processing, Amber, my loan partner, reaches out if she needs anything additional. Inspection, you're making sure the house isn't falling apart. Appraisal, you're making sure the house is worth what you're buying it for. And all that goes into underwriting. And then you get what's called a conditional approval. You are approved when you satisfy these conditions. All of this happens in 5 to 7 business days. And every one is a different person. Have you ever been on a plane ride, Jonas?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Ever had any turbulence?
All the time.
Okay. What does the pilot usually say? He gets on the intercom and he goes, "There's going to be some turbulence. Put your seatbelt on." It is turbulent. Every single plane ride's different. So even if you bought a house before, we might have turbulence at different points in the contract. So my goal is just to tell you the truth and to tell you, hey, buckle up. It's going to get chaotic. And really for you, I always ask people, hey, ask yourself if you're a person that gets really bent out of shape when you get under stress. And it might be you, it might be your spouse, it might be somebody else involved. But I just want to make sure that, hey, if you know I get stressed out, then just prepare yourself to get stressed out for a few days. We're going to get through it. And that's my whole goal is I'm going to guide you through that. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Timeline takes about 30 days. Could take more, could take less. It really is a good agent is going to call and ask what's important to the seller. And we're going to try to make that happen. First payment. Let's say you close in May. Your first payment skips the next month. So you're not going to make a payment. You skip June. You're not going to pay it until July. So that's kind of nice. Let's see. Top 3 complaints. So this is worth talking about because 2/3 of people complained about this in the home buying process. Bait and switch. I tell you numbers and then it's something different. So I think that happens for 2 reasons. 1, people could be deceptive. 2, people could be lazy. I don't actually think most people are deceptive. I do think most people are lazy. So what ends up happening is we're in this arena where everybody says push button, get mortgage. Well, if you push button and then they just give you an approval because you uploaded some documents, what happens is it's really emotional to buy a house and you feel like I just got to check the analytical box. So you do that and then you go get under contract and then your analytical brain comes back and you go, oh my gosh, what's my cash to close? What's my monthly payment? What's the interest rate? How am I allocating my money? That's why we sit down and I literally sit down with every single person so that we can go over the process, monthly payment, cash to close, all that stuff, because this is my worst nightmare that you would say that I told you something and it was something major different. Now, I think for us, we have 2 reasons that doesn't happen. I don't get that complaint. One is I remember buying my first house. I did push button, get mortgage. I had no idea what I was doing. I had a little bit of money. I got a house. I had a payment. I don't know what happened with any of the money. So I'm really passionate about the education piece. And then the other piece is we're 100% referral based. The way we got connected is from John Smith. I didn't pay John for you to connect him with me. He just thinks I'm the best person at taking care of his clients. So on my end, I don't pay for any advertising costs. That's how I'm able to keep my costs low. And also it's all referrals. So I want to take care of you so that you'll say, hey, you got to talk to my mom. You got to talk to my dad. Like this guy knocks it out of the park. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Multiple requests for documents. It's the government. Expect it. Miss closing date. That's important because if you're supposed to close on a Friday and you got a pizza party, your friends coming over, and a U-Haul rented, if we move that from Friday till Monday, that's time and money and a big pain in the butt, right?
Yes.
Okay, so just a little bit about Summit. Not here to brag, but I'll brag on my company a little bit. Summit Funding's 4.9 out of 5. That is one of the top rated lenders in the United States. My team and I are honored to be considered a top 1% mortgage originator, and we're the top rated lender here in Chattanooga. What do you know about rates, Jonas?
I know they're high.
Okay, cool. Where do you usually get that info?
The media.
Media? Okay, well that's scary. I don't know. They change their mind on stuff every day. So here's what I know. Comparatively, they're not super high. Are they high compared to 3 years ago? Yes. Are they going down? All the data indicates so. So why wouldn't we just wait, right? That's part of what we're going to get into here is just to figure out if this is the right time to buy. And if it is, we're going to give you a plan on how to do it. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Here's my team right here. So Amber and Alex take care of it. Alex is the one that ended up taking all your information. I'll have him come in and say, hey, Amber helps me once we get under contract. She's the one that makes it smooth and on-time closing. That's her whole goal. So a little bit about building wealth just in general in the US. And I think it's super important for us not just to talk about real estate, although I think that's the biggest investment you'll ever make in your life. But I just want to talk about it holistically. So I'm going to touch on real estate first. Let's just give you an example here. Let's say you bought a house for $200,000 and you're doing just standard, no down payment assistance. We're a first-time home buyer, conventional. We put down $6,000. That's your down payment. Your loan amount is $194,000. So 3 ways that you build wealth through home ownership. One of them is up. Every year, on average, the market appreciates by 3%. That is over the last 60 years. If you look at the average over the last 20 years, it's more like 5%. So I'm going to be really, really conservative. I don't want to sell you a bill of goods. Well, what does that mean? That means after year 1, that house is worth 206. You bought it for 200. You invested 6K. It increased by 6K. It's 100% cash on cash return. You can't get that anywhere else. Now, that being said, you can't access that right away. I'm super aware of that. But after 5 years, that house is worth 230. You bought it for 200. You have $30,000 of equity. All you did was make your payments on time. Other way that you build wealth through real estate is down. Every month when you make a payment, a portion of it goes towards the principal. So you owe a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less. It's a forced savings account. It's a piggy bank. After 5 years, you owe 180. That's based on rates being where they're at right now. So if the rates drop, you refinance, you'll end up owing less. You owe 180. You bought it for 200, $20,000 of equity. You put those two together, it's $50,000 of equity, and you invested 6K. But wait, there's more. You also have the ability to, and this is dependent on different people's situations. So I always say consult your tax professional first. This right here is a 60-year average, super conservative. You can literally bank on this, no pun intended, great dad joke. You can bank on this right here. We know this is going to happen. This is something that could happen. Different parts of the country, it's more applicable. It matters on your standard deductions. That's what I'll say. So I'm just going to give you an example, though. Let's say you're making $100,000 a year and you wrote off $20,000 on your taxes. You're now taxed on 80. If you avoided paying taxes on $20,000, that means you avoided paying, let's call it a 25% tax bracket. You avoided paying $5,000. If you do that for 5 years, you avoided paying $25,000 to the almighty government. Put those two together, $75,000. You invested 6K. So let me just ask you a couple questions that I know you know the answer to. When you're renting, do you have any building wealth up?
No.
What about down? Forced savings account?
Nope.
You got any tax advantages?
No.
Nada. So your landlord gets all this, but I don't really know your landlord. So we're sitting down here. I want to help you. Here's a stat for you. This is why people that own real estate versus people that don't have 70 times more wealth. Here's kind of a math problem if you like to nerd out on that stuff. And I have all this in the packet that I'm going to give you. This is in person. I have this also virtual, just FYI. So other stuff, savings reserves, don't bleed every penny in your bank account. 401k, IRA. Do you have that where you're at, Jonas?
Yes.
Okay. And do they do a contribution for you?
Yes.
Yeah. I have some examples here. We're going to skip over some of them, but like I'll just give you a quick example. If they're giving you $100 and you put in $100, you now have $200. If you liquidate immediately, they're going to take 40% for short-term capital gains. 40% of 200 is $80. You put in 100, you now have 120. So I mean, it's free money. We want to make sure we take advantage of that. Last piece right here is invest in whatever else you want. If it's Pokemon cards, invest in Pokemon cards. I don't care. Do something with your money though. Types of loans, different things fit different people. I know that's conventional government. This usually ends up meaning the score's a little bit lower. We maybe need some down payment assistance. Conventional usually means really good credit. We have a good cash down payment. Here are things that go into your rates. It is a lot. It's not just your credit score, although that's probably the biggest portion of it. For instance, conventional versus FHA rates. Those are really different right now. I mean, FHA rates look a lot lower. I'm not just focused on rate. I'm focused on your overall financial picture. Because, for instance, if you told me I want the cheapest rate, well, I'd probably tell you end up in FHA. Well, I mean, they have a 1.75% fee on the front end just to originate a loan. If you tell me your 18-month plan is a refinance, we might have a higher rate and just choose conventional because overall it's going to save you money. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Here are rates over the decades. So if you look right here, for 30 years, that was the average rate. We hit this about 6 months ago. We're pretty solidly in between here. The prediction is purchase rates are going to be a little bit below this, which means refinance rates are probably going to be right in between here. What kind of questions do you have with any of that, Jonas?
My friend said that he was able to get the lower rate, and I'm just nervous with the payment. What's my payment going to be in all this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, remember we talked about we were going to go over process, monthly payment, all that stuff. We already got process down, so we feel pretty good about that, right?
Yes.
Okay. What we're going hey Jonas, so you said you feel a little nervous. What do you think is most important to you? Is it monthly payment? Is it cash to close? Is it the interest rate? Is it the house?
I got some money in the bank. It's definitely the monthly payment. I just don't want to bite off more than I can chew.
Yeah, that makes sense. From your standpoint, what is a comfortable monthly payment for you? Or what have you thought about your monthly payment being?
I don't want to go any more over 2,300.
Okay, gotcha. What makes you come up with that number?
It just, the wife and I did the math with including the utilities. That's not included, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's gonna have your payment, right? Anything that's associated with your payment, but any sort of electric, any water, whatever, any of that wouldn't count. You're right.
We figured that with utilities, that's going to be about 26 for the house, and that's really where we're comfortable.
Cool. Okay. That's good. So you guys sat down, went over a budget?
We did.
That's awesome. Yeah, Jonas, you're ahead of most people, so you shouldn't be nervous at all. Most people are just out here wheeling and dealing. They see a house and they want to go under contract. That's good. Well, hey, so payment at 2,300. What purchase price wise? What have you thought about? Have you started to glance at that, or what?
We saw something awesome at 300,000.
Okay. Let's see. And I'm gonna. So you saw something at 300,000. Okay. Now, there's different perspectives for different people, Jonas. Do you have any particular payment cash to close that you were thinking, or do we want to just back into what that looks like and then see if those numbers match up for you?
Did you say down payment or cash to close?
Cash to close in general. Yep. So that means
I'd like to be as close to zero out of pocket as I can, of course.
Okay, great. Okay. Yeah, and some people have different perspectives. Some people tell me, hey, I don't want any mortgage insurance, so I'm probably going to structure things differently based on that. Well, if you're talking about as least cash to close out of pocket, if you have a really solid credit score, Jonas, you've done a really great job with that. So what my perspective would be, hey, we got solid credit. The rates are going to be a little bit cheaper for FHA, like I mentioned before, but we're actually going to be allowed to put down a little bit less for conventional, and the mortgage insurance is a lot cheaper for conventional as opposed to FHA. So what I'm going to do is just pull up the rates here. And while we're doing that, this is super slow, government system, super slow. So what I'm going to do here while this starts to load is I am going to just talk to you a little bit about discount points. Have you ever heard about discount points?
No, sir.
Okay. So discount points, and the reason that I pull this up, this is push button get mortgage. The reason I pull this up is because they're the masters of advertising, right? So they're putting rates out on the internet and they're saying these are rates. Right here, you can see, hey, 30-year fixed. They're telling you that the rate is at 7.375. You're like, okay, that's the rate. Well, down here in points, it says 1.875 and then it has a dollar amount associated with it. Well, what the heck is that? Well, this is essentially a fee that's associated with the rate. In order to get that rate, you have to pay that fee. Now, I'm not saying that the fee is bad, but I would never advertise with discount points because I don't know about your situation. We got to make sure it fits with what is important to you. So for instance, when you come down here, it says 30-year fixed. That's the rate. You have to put down 20%. You have to have a 43% debt to income, and you have to have a 740 credit score. That is not most people. I'll say that. Just to give you an example, they advertise an FHA rate, and they show, where's it at? FHA might be right here. They show an FHA rate. It's at 675. Guess what? You have to put 20% down and have the same thing. 43% debt to income, 740 credit score. Just so you know, nobody in their right mind would ever do an FHA loan if that was their situation. So once again, I'm just going to pull up your specific info and then see where that lands us just based on what your plan is. Now, what do you think is going to happen with rates, Jonas? Do you have any idea?
I'm hoping they go down. It's a presidential year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great thing you bring up. There's a few reasons that I believe, right, just professional opinion, I believe that rates are going to go down. One is we got an election coming up. Doesn't matter who you like, they're going to try to make the economy look good. Okay, so that's the first thing. Next thing is there are several people that are paid to know what are going to happen with rates, saying that rates are going to drop. Goldman Sachs, MBS Highway, Fannie Mae, they're all saying that rates are going to be down around 6. The other reason that I believe rates are going to go down is because the Federal Reserve said that they're lowering rates this year. I just read an article a couple weeks ago that said that it was imminent that they were going to lower them, and they said, hey, we realize we can't wait too long. Now, you can trust the Fed if you want. They've already adjusted some of those predictions. So I'm not saying just to have blind trust, but I kind of have to make some good educated decisions based on the data that I have, and that's the data that I have. So right here, we're going to make sure all this matches up. That's our score. That's our debt to income. That's the purchase price. Loan amount. So we'll come here. It's a good old 80s right there. Haven't changed the system that long. Okay. So we're going to go into the rates here. And this is going to get super confusing really quick. So I'm going to show you. They have a lot going on here. There are rates. There's principal and interest. This is how long the rate is locked for. And then these are the fees for the rates that's associated here. So you can see pretty much everything costs something. And you could get a lot lower. You know, for instance, if I was advertising my rate with 2 points, you remember Rocket was at 7.375. My rate's at 7. But I don't know if it makes sense to pay the points. I mean, we can, and that's okay. But what I would do is I always like to do the math and say, okay, so
Wait
we
a minute,
have
Chris, I want to reiterate this again because you just blew my mind. Did you just say that Summit Funding can beat Rocket Mortgage?
every day of the week.
Guys, make sure you hear that loud and clear. This is what I hear from most of my students. The rates, the rates, the rates. Chris, once again, did you say we can beat Rocket Mortgage?
Every day of the week.
Thank you.
Okay. So, and honestly, guys, when you do this professional presentation, very rarely does the rate come up. I'm not saying I don't get shopped. I do, but it is pretty darn rare. And then I look in the mirror and I say, why did I get shopped? And sometimes it's me. Sometimes there wasn't enough value, or it wasn't the right client fit, or I introduced doubt at some point in the process. So that's you just get better. You do more loans. Okay, so just to jump back into mode here. So Jonas, what I look at here is just looking at rates enough. I can usually tell if there's a dip and if it actually makes sense to pay any of these discount points. So there has been really people have landed around here recently, but I'm just going to kind of show you the difference. So let's say you were at, I don't know, and some of these rates are going to look crazy, right? Remember, we could get down here, but I think there's other programs where we can build in to get payments to where you want. So let's say we were at 7,625. So that principal and interest is 2,060. Well, shoot, I want to drop all the way down to 7. The difference in the principal and interest is 2,060 minus 1936. So it's a difference in $124 a month. Cool. I'd like to save money, but my question is, how much does it cost? Well, the cost is the difference in 59.92 and 12.11. That's $4,781. If I saved $124 a month myself and put it into a cup, how long would it take for me to get to 47.81?
38 months off the top of my head.
38 and a half. Pretty good, buddy. So 38. So let's divide that by 12 months. It's over 3 years. The break-even point's over 3 years. If all the indicative measures that we have say that rates are going to be down in the next 18 months conservatively, does it make sense to pay a ton of discount points?
No,
Because you lose the money. Now, I'm going to just be honest with you. People are scared to show you this rate. But I have ways that I can get to the payment where you want. So I'm not worried about it because I know that you're listening and you understand. So I'm going to base everything off of this 7,625. And honestly, this actually ends up matching up payment wise with what you're potentially comfortable with. But I think overall, Jonas, what I would do, and this is just me, and you just tell me if I'm off base, we've got some things called a temporary buy down. Have you ever heard of that before?
no, sir.
Okay. So basically what a temporary buy down does is the seller helps us out a little bit. And there's several different ones. There's a 2-1 buy down. There's a 3-2-1 buy down. There's all these different buy downs. And really what they do, so I'll just plug in some numbers here. I got a conventional. You can get all this. Let's do that. You can get your rate lowered. I can show you a rate at 4,625 right now. Now, it costs a lot of money from the seller, so I don't think that really fits with what we need. I think, honestly, if I looked at this, I would hedge against, instead of paying all that money, I would rather allocate the money towards a temporary buy down where we can get your rate. Remember we said if we paid 2 discount points, it would get us down to 7%?
Yep.
What if we allocated 1.5% of that, got the seller to pay for it, and we got it down to 6,625 for 2 years, and then when we refinance, we get it lower than that?
Does that lower my payment?
Yeah, it'd get your payment down for the first 2 years. You get it down to 2175.
Seems me I'd be silly not to take it.
Yeah, and people always ask me what's the downside. I said, I'm honestly that there's not really a downside. I mean, we used to have to get the seller to cover it. We don't necessarily have to now. So that's something that we have at our disposal. We could potentially be able to cover this on our own. Now, I don't want you to do that necessarily, but I can write offers in a way that we just tell the seller, hey, we have to do it this way. So right here, here's going to be my thought. So that kind of gets us to payment. We got the payment matched up. So the last part is we want to put together the cash to close. This is my only original brainchild, audience, and I will gladly share this with anyone. So let's say we're doing $300,000. We already talked about we want 3% down. At this point, closing costs on 300,000, probably about 3% when it's all said and done. We looked at the discount points, what it made sense to pay on the permanent discount points. It was at 0.416. So I'm going to put 0.416. And then over here, we know that this temporary buy down, and we're going to say that the seller is going to pay for it right now. The temporary buy down is 1.571. So overall, cash to close, we would ask the seller to pay for 4,500 of this buy down so we can get the payments really, really comfortable for you. And then what we would do here is the cash to close would be at $20,000. You tell me, is that too high?
No, I think I can do that.
Okay. And by the way, if you said it was at 17, I would come in here and just ask for more seller concessions. Well, hey, what we'll do is overall, that'll bring the seller concessions to, we need to ask for 7,500. So I can adjust all of this. Obviously, conventional, I can't go over 3% unless you write in certain different stuff. But so this is how I would adjust. I would get to the cash to close. Then it's a lot easier in person, but then I would have actually, I'll just pull up an email and show you a consultation overview. So then I have a piece of paper that I would fill out in front of them. Come on. And this is what I'd fill out in front of them. This is name, date, conventional. This is where we landed. He wanted to be at this purchase price. Those are the payments. He knew the cash to close. He didn't need any seller concessions. What else does he need to do? And then I had a referral for him. I connected him with my financial advisor. So I would do this for everyone. And then what I would do later after he leaves. Let me finish this up, this part of the role play, and then I'll just talk about this the last couple minutes right after they leave. So we've still got all this pulled up. Okay, so we feel good about that. We've got, and I would write it down on the piece of paper, say, hey, so we got everything buttoned up. We feel pretty good about the process, Jonas?
Yeah,
Okay. You feel good about monthly payment?
yeah,
Okay. What about cash to close? Feel pretty good about that?
I think I can do that.
Okay. What kind of questions do you have, Jonas?
I wanted to avoid the mortgage insurance completely. Did you say I had to go to 20%?
There are very creative ways that we can get out of it and be able to go with less. So you can do what's called a buyout. Honestly, Jonas, and this is just an opinion of mine. What's the goal with getting rid of the mortgage insurance? I'm just curious. I want to ask that first.
Everybody says it's bad,
Okay.
especially with my credit situation.
Okay. Well, shoot, in this particular situation, you actually have a really good credit score, Jonas. So here's what I know. I have some people that I really trust that are really good with their money. One of them bought a $500,000 house. He had the money to put 20% down. That's $100,000 just for the down payment. He chose to put 5% down. And I said, hey, Daniel, why'd you do that? He said, well, I mean, here's my thought. How much is my mortgage insurance? I said, well, I mean, you got a good credit score. It's about $100 a month. He said, okay. So just simplistically, there's a lot more nuance in this, but just simplistically, if I'm gonna put $75,000 down so that I avoid $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year. I believe in myself to go make more than $1,200 a year with this $75,000. It's the opportunity cost. Now, obviously, he was comfortable with the payment. There's a lot of other things that go into it, but he was comfortable. He likes the idea of the opportunity cost. I'll pay that $100 a month because I know I'm going to make more than that. So in your situation, you were telling me that the cash to close was really important to you. I wouldn't allocate more than that. I would use as least amount of money as possible. And I was kind of in the same situation as Daniel. I could have put more money down, and I just chose not to because I want the reserves. I want the flexibility. We talked about the 401k. Are you maxing out your 401k right now?
Yes,
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. That's more than most. Are you significantly contributing with the financial advisor?
yes.
Okay, that's good. Have you thought about, and here's another question for you, Jonas. I don't even know if you've even considered this. Have you thought about taking the cash and buying another property as an investment property and kind of starting a little bit of a portfolio?
No,
Okay. Well, that might be something to talk about because we're talking, well, I'll just show you some quick numbers. The difference between 3% down, right now you can see 3% down is 9,000 for the down payment, 20% down is 60. So you got $51,000. You could go, let's look at this. You could take $50,000 and go buy a $225,000 house as an investment property. And now guess what? You remember when we talked about the property appreciation, the debt pay down, the tax advantages? You also have cash flow. And at that point, you're talking about somebody else is paying off your debt. You have somebody else living in the property while it's appreciating. Now you're doubling the property. So, and I don't know, it's all based on, it's your opinion, Jonas. If you're comfortable with the leverage or even considering it, that might be something we should talk about some more.
I like it.
Okay. So, but you feel good about the monthly payment, the cash to close. What kind of questions do you have, Jonas? Anything else?
You've covered everything really well. Thank you, sir.
Okay, awesome. Hey, I got one last thing from you. I got a favor to ask.
Yeah,
Okay. Have you ever heard of a reticular activator?
no, sir.
Okay. Sounds like a made up word, right?
Yes.
To me, it sounds like a flux capacitor. That's what I always think of, but that is made up. Yeah. Well, here's a question for you. It's an easier way to explain it. What do you drive, Jonas?
Raptor.
Okay. You drive a Raptor. What?
Yes.
How many Raptors do you see on the road every day?
Couple.
Couple. I cannot tell you the last time I've seen a Raptor. You want to know why?
Why?
I don't drive a Raptor.
Sure.
So I drove a Corolla for 10 years. Every single car was a Corolla. I switched cars, no more Corollas. So the reason that I bring that up is because you're now a mortgage loan expert. And I know you think I'm crazy. You're a mortgage loan expert. You are going to be aware of your friends, family, coworkers, everybody and their mama asking you about real estate and rates and yada, yada. And so my request from you is if you thought I did a good job for you, that you say, hey, you got to go talk to my guy, Chris, and he'll connect you with John. Does that sound fair?
Absolutely.
Cool, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming in, Jonas. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a detailed email. I'm going to include your agent on it, and I'm going to include my whole team on it. It's going to attach everything that we talked about today, that RX form that tells you exactly how to write the offer. And then you're out there shopping. I'm going to touch base with you every week or so just to check in and see what we need to do to help you get into a home. Cool?
Absolutely. This was awesome.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
All right. See ya. Then we high five. Then they leave. And then the last thing before I finish up and I take questions is I have this consultation overview email. And what I do is this is something that I didn't do until maybe the last 6 months, and it's been a huge game changer. So Jim talked about it, and I didn't even really know what he was talking about. And then I finally did it. So I have a consultation overview. I put all those people on the email that I told you about. Over here, I tell him what he needs to do. I tell the CCI what it is. I tell my team. I tell the agent. So I would put down here, John. I tell the agent, are they approved? Do they need to do anything else? What's the program? What's the price? How many seller concessions? What's the length of close? Do we have any special notes? Then what I do is everybody should be using their CRM. So I go into Jungo. And I'll just pick somebody. But I will literally copy this right here. Go into your log a call. Drop it in, spoke. Change it in here. They are pre-approved. I'm going to change this to this fall, the next Wednesday. And it will, well, I guess that didn't work because it's not an agent, but usually it'll tell you if I have an agent associated with this is from a business contact. It'll send the text and it's going to update it so that now it doesn't show up on my list. It's now showing on the 24th. Now I got to change that because I haven't talked to that guy today. Okay. That was a lot of talking. I'm done. What kind of questions do you have?
Are you showing your screen the whole time, just like you were doing with us?
90% of them are in person, but yeah, I share my screen the whole time. Because I want them to see, I mean, ultimately what I do if they're in person is I have 3 screens. I mirror 2 screens and I flip the screen around and then I look at the one and then they look at the other. But yes, I share it the whole time, just like I did. And then I unshare it when I do the reticular activator speech right at the end because I want them to look at me.
Chris, the other important thing that I got from this is you're doing this every single time, correct?
100%.
Out of 100 clients that come in to see you, how many are shopping you after they leave to do this?
Less than 10.
That was the big thing I caught from it, guys.
Now, I'll say this. I'm in a different market. I know everybody's got different stuff. I don't really have brokers over here. And Southeast is way more relational than the West Coast and then the Northeast, where it's different. So I'm not saying, I'm just telling you, all I can tell you is what my results. And I did get shopped a lot more when I didn't do it right. Like you implement stuff each time and you get a little bit better, a little bit better. Like for instance, at the end of the reticular activator speech, I started asking, does that sound fair? Or I started asking, hey, are you okay with that? Or is that good with you? Or whatever. I got a verbal and my current client referrals started going up. I noticed it. Just getting them to verbally commit that, yeah, I'm going to send you referrals. Elena.
Do you do this presentation the first time you meet them or after they completed the application?
So my process is I will call. I get connected via 3-way text. I teach my agents to connect me via 3-way text. I contact them as quick as I can just to say, hey, I'll call you in a minute. I call them. I have a 2-minute conversation, and this is Jim Reed 1.0. That's all it is. He says, hey, so good to meet you. It's so glad that John's awesome. I can't wait. Here's kind of what the process looks like. Alex is going to give you a call. He's going to get some information. He's going to set up a time for us to meet. And at that meeting, we're going to go over the process, the monthly payment, the cash to close that makes sense for you, and then answer any questions. Does that sound fair? Yes, it does. Cool. Can Alex call you right now? Yes, Alex calls. Alex sets an appointment, or he takes the information. He tells him about the documents he needs. He sends out the email. He takes the information over the phone. I'm very passionate about that. Even when I didn't have Alex on my team, I've been taking applications on the phone for a long time. And it is way better. And my people don't get all the robocalls either because I never put their phone number in. So they can't. Very rare. And then what we're doing as a team is we're trying to get better at making sure they have the documents at the consultation so that Alex doesn't need to chase documents all the time. But we're doing this consultation after they sit down. So I already have all their info. I literally have only talked to them for 2 minutes. Now, before I had Alex on the front end, I was talking to them and I was developing all the rapport. He gives me a CCI, a cash credit income form, and I can look 2 minutes before. And we're trying to, like, the whole point of Summit Funding's model is a doctor nurse. Like, I'm going to have the information. I'm the person that generated the lead. My team's going to take care of it. They're going to schedule the appointment, get them in front of me, and then I'm going to look at the file and I'm going to say, okay, we got a little bit. I'm going to ask some stuff. I'm going to develop some rapport. Then I'm going to go through the process, and everybody's got to go through the process. Austin.
I really struggle with waiting to have this meeting in person. Sometimes whenever I have people call, they already have questions that they're hitting me with. So I have LP service, but on my team, I have like a pre-qual worksheet. So I feel like normally I've addressed like, where credit is and liabilities that they have. And I'm just wondering, how can I shift people from, I guess my question is how do I get to where I'm having a short conversation with them and they're not asking me 50 questions the first time that I talk to them and still getting them to apply. I think it's partly mindset that I'm nervous that if I don't answer these initial questions that they're going to call the next person who will, and then I'm potentially leaving the door open for somebody else by not answering their questions when they initially call me.
How are you being referred business?
I'm about 50% realtor based and then 46% is self-sourced in sphere of influence.
So is it
So-
paid leads?
No, it's just a lot of friends and family. I was in the service industry for about 15 years, so I have a really big network. So a lot of these people are people that I actually know. And so I struggle with handing them off to my LP because they call me and they have these questions. And I think part of it is market where, they don't really want to apply if they don't think they're going to qualify. So they want to, kind of pick my brain. And I just noticed that I'm kind of spending an hour on the phone up front with these people. And then when they come in for the mortgage meeting, a lot of this I've like kind of went over, but not at the same level that I would like to that you're doing, where I think you're actually educating them and I'm not really doing as much of that.
So this is not gospel, but my suggestion would be that you need to be firmer and just say, hey, I'm stepping into a meeting. I wanted to answer your call. I will answer those when we meet. Because I'm going to answer most of those questions when we go over the process monthly payment. There's 1,000 different scenarios. We've got to sit down and go over it together. We need to get on the calendar to do that.
And what's your guys' process for answering questions and things like that for people that don't qualify? Like, when do you do that?
Alex will get the information. He'll set an appointment if he looks at it. And Alex is newer, but he's doing awesome. He's on here. He will get the information, and if it's not a deal, he'll schedule for me to call them. I'll actually look at it beforehand. I actually look at this beforehand. If they're in person, I don't even look at the file beforehand. But I'll look at it beforehand, and I'll just run a wayfinder, or I'll kind of look and see, okay, we're missing this, we're missing that. And call and give them a plan. And Jonas taught me this about 6 months ago, and it's gold. If they're not ready right this second, I will say, hey, looks like we got a little bit of work to do. to do, that's totally fine. My goal is I help people with credit repair all the time. Not everybody's ready. My goal is to get you in a house. So I don't care if it's in a week or if it's in 6 months or in a year. Now I'm going to challenge you. There are 10 things you need to do. I'm not going to tell you all 10 of them because 90% of people won't even do the first thing. Now, I don't know. I'll tell you, Austin, you seem like you're a go-getter. Like I think that you're the person that's going to do it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you the first thing to do. Call me when it's done, and we'll give you the next steps. Okay? And then I mark it for a month out. And if they haven't called me, I call them. And if they haven't done it, I call them one more time. And if they haven't, it's on a drip campaign.
Thank you.
But yeah, you have to find a way to spend more time in front of people that are qualified.
Thank you.
Yep. Dusty.
I think you answered my question. When people your setup is obviously through your team, but if you didn't have Alex, then you're pretty much taking the phone call and then doing a pre-qual with them. And when you're taking it directly, are you running credit right there on the spot?
Yep.
And then you're having that conversation with them. It looks like you're not going to work. You're either telling them, hey, it looks like we're good, let's meet in person, or hey, it looks like we got some work to do.
Yep.
Here's the steps we need to take.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. That's what I've been doing. I just wanted to clarify that, and it sounds like that's all on the same page. Thank you.
Yep, just getting enough information to pull credit. And sometimes Amber gets mad at me because I don't have enough information in there for her, but that's okay.
And you don't really wait until you meet in person to get documents.
Well, I would prefer that they upload it or they send it in before we even meet, because that's part of the problem that I'm struggling with right now is we're chasing a lot of documents. And so Alex is getting better about it's super important. Like, this is homework. You got to bring it with you. You can upload it this way. And then just confirming when he's confirming the appointment in the morning, you've got the documents, you're bringing them, right? Because he's been spending a lot of time every day chasing documents on people that I have pre-approved. I just need the docs. Like, I just need to verify it.
That's me too. So I've got some pre-approvals where I'm chasing documents, and it's like
Well, it's going to waste
I'm
all your
hindered.
time. I did that. I was working 70 hours a week for way too long chasing documents, and that was half of my day was chasing crappy leads. So that's the key is you got to make sure you're establishing how important it is, because what's happening is they're either not as serious or you're not giving them enough urgency.
So will you meet them if they don't have enough documents, or they didn't
Yeah.
upload all your documents?
Mm-hmm.
What if they didn't give you any?
I still meet them. If the cash credit income's there on paper, I'll still meet them.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
Yeah. Jonas, there were some questions in the chat. I didn't read any of them. Did I answer all of them, or is there some that are jumping out?
Hang on, I didn't see them. Can we get copies of the handouts, Chris?
Yep. Yeah, I'll send you the
Perfect.
handout. I'll send you the PowerPoint too, because once again, I just found it.
So
Somebody
Melanie
accidentally
asks
sent it
on
to
the
me.
Rocket Mortgage rate comparison, she loves that. Are you using the rates that we get through Rocket, or do you do it as an LPC?
I'm not smart enough to even know what that means.
I'm not either, guys. Chris taught me to do it exactly
Oh,
the
is
way
it
he
is it
does it.
wait, lender paid comp? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I've never done Rocket. I don't even mess with it.
Chris taught me the way that he does it, guys. I bring up Rocket every time and I blow my borrowers away. I eliminate Rocket in the conversation every time because of the way Chris taught me.
Well, they're the number one
Hmm.
mortgage company in the United
Mhm.
States.
They own
And
the
when you
Super Bowl and the Avengers. Don't forget that.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, and so maybe that I'm going to add that now. See, they own the Super Bowl and the Avengers, so you're going to be paying for it in advertising costs. That's how I sell my insurance person. I say, hey, it's just like me. The way that my rates are able to stay low is I don't pay for advertising costs. Same person, he owns his insurance company. You're never going to see his face, but he has the best rates and the best coverage. State Farm, you know who Patrick Mahomes is? You're paying for his contract.
Mary just put the Rocket Mortgage in the chat screen. Thank you, Mary. Chris, the last question I have, unless anybody else has any questions, guys, everybody thinks Chris Kloc's been doing this for 20 years. Chris, how long you been in the mortgage business?
3 years as of yesterday.
Well, happy anniversary.
Thanks, Boo Boo.
You guys can do this, and Chris is one of the most open books you've met in this business. He's one of the nicest people here. Please pick his brain. Please ask lots of questions. But for those of you that are just getting started, 3 years, guys, and he's just refining every day.
Well, it's just tools Summit's given me too. So I just want to re-implement and just re-emphasize that. Re-emphasize that. It's just tools. You can just implement tools. And put your spin on it. It doesn't have to be the same thing. Put your own kid, make your own jokes. You know, sometimes the short and ginger thing, they don't really laugh that much. And I use it specifically because I can tell what type of people they are immediately. There's a reason for there's psychology behind almost every single thing, right? I show them the picture of my kids on my back because when they call me at 8 o'clock at night and I pick up, they don't get mad and call somebody else. And if they do, they're not my client. I don't want them. Cool. If that's it, seriously, it's an honor. This is the first time I've been able to teach. I just became a coach this year, so I'm really excited. I'm just really excited to be able to give back because Summit has given a ton to me and my family. See ya. Bye, Jonas.
Thank you, brother.
See you guys.